What is up, my unconventional conventionists? I have a few minutes before I have to go to the gym, and I had a few thoughts. So I wanted to do a quick live stream. May do another one when I get back. I don't know. This one's going to be short because literally I only have like 10 minutes. But I had a couple of thoughts in my mind that I was pondering, and again, inspired from some of the wonderful comments that you guys and gals have been leaving. Some of the comments include things about evil and good, and actually the trolls. The trolls that they inspire me to think outside of the box. They really do. So I appreciate that. But a couple of people, you're evil, you're this, you're that, etc., etc. And I know my heart. Most people know my heart. I ask myself, how can people take evil out of what we talk about? As a matter of fact, I read another comment from a post that was on our page from a long time ago that said, their teachings are very dark. They have very dark teachings. And I'm like, how do you take that out of what we say? Get your own power, know yourself, be confident in who you are. How do you take darkness out of that? The only thing I can think of is that it's a reflection. However, I started to ask myself, does evil exist and can it be measured? Um, my initial thoughts is that it's relative. Good and evil is relative. But then I started thinking about the virus in the system. And so my thoughts kind of went in another direction. There is a virus in the system that I would define as pure evil. Everything else is a balance of light and darkness. And there is supposed to be a natural balance of light and darkness, but this virus within the system is pure evil. So I guess before I start talking about the philosophical relativity of good and evil, let's address the pure evil first and foremost, which is the virus in the system. The virus feeds upon innocence, and it is pure evil. It's an imbalance within the system. So that out of the way, because I do understand that aspect of it. Now let's philosophize on relativity of good and evil. Does good and evil exist? I would say in the real world, it does not. The reason is that we are such illuminated and elevated beings that there is no definition of good and evil in the real world because there just is. We all take care of each other, we all take care of the world around us, and we all operate for the benefit of ourselves and the benefit of others around us. So there is no standard of evil at that point. There is no positive and negative, there just is, which I think is why we created a world of duality, positive and negative, which is this realm right here. So we can experience some of the things we didn't have, which was like an ending point. Infinite beings are infinite. They don't have an ending point, so we created a series of ending points for ourselves, which are our lives that we live here, so we can have beginning and end, experience that. We can also experience duality, which we have transcended far away from in the real world. Here on Earth, too, you have to look at the duality and the perceived dark and lightness and ask yourself, what is light and darkness? What is good and evil? When we go fishing, for example, are we evil when we pull a fish out of the lake, cut its head off, and cook it and eat it? Is that an evil act? Well, to us, it's a sport. To us, it's fun. To us, it's a matter of survival. To the fish, obviously, it's extremely freaking evil. We're predators that eat it. Um, and you can look in the animal kingdom like that all the time. You have the antelope and the lions. Which one is good and which one is evil? Is there a good and is there an evil? I would say there just is, and it's all a matter of perspective. I mean, if you want to take an extreme viewpoint and philosophize on an extremely horrific event that took place. Let's look at Germany, 38 to 43, around that area when the Nazis took over. Were the Nazis evil? Well, to the rest of the world, yeah, inherently they were. To the Jews, absolutely. But were those people operating in Nazi Germany? Did they think that they were evil? Did they sit there and think, ha 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 ha, we are committing these evil acts? They really thought they were doing what was best for Germany. So from their perspective, they were an evil. From everybody else's perspective, of course, they were evil. Now, defining light and darkness is something that I've done in the past, and I want to know what you guys and gals think about this definition of light and darkness that I'm about to put out on the broadcast. So, the way that I've defined it is I ask myself, what do sentient beings want in this world? I think that we can all agree every sentient being wants life and wants freedom. Those two elements are, I think every sentient being will agree to that. So, the way that I've defined good and evil, at least the way that I try to operate within the matrix, is anything that impedes upon life, anything that impedes upon freedom, I try not to do. I veer away from doing that. As a matter of fact, I don't do that. Anything that promotes life, that promotes freedom, is the way that I try to operate. I try to do things that are for life and for freedom. So I think that's a really good definition. So we can take a look at legislation, for example. I've said this before, so forgive me for being redundant. We can take a look at legislation, and we can look at like cannabis prohibition. Well, what's going on with cannabis prohibition? It is impeding upon the right of individuals to have cannabis and smoke cannabis. They're not hurting anybody by smoking the cannabis, but putting them in jail is an act of darkness, in my opinion. Whereas an act of light is letting them do whatever they want. And then you get, other crimes like murder that impedes on somebody's life. So apparently that is darkness or evil. You could, you could compare things like that and just kind of look at things from this, the both perspectives like that. But at an even deeper level, I think a lot of it is relative. I don't think there is a good and evil, because it's relative at a certain level, which brings me back to what I opened up this video with. When people look at our work and they say you're evil or you're dark or you're this or that, to NPCs and Archons, yeah, we would be evil, because we came here to remove the virus, which all of these things are infected with the virus, and potentially shut down the system. That seems very evil to them. To us, it's a matter of our own survival. We got to get the hell out of here. So, and we have to uninfect the system. It's a system that we built that we have to fix now. So to us, we're just doing what needs to be done. We're not here, with any malevolent or benevolent purpose. It's just is, because it needs to be done. So again, I can see the perspective of NPCs going, hey, 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 they're evil. They're evil. Maybe we are in their eyes, but the fact of the matter is, I think a lot of them too, I've been thinking about this, and somebody brought this up. They said, people just tend to hate you and Cherie just for no reason. They said, you've never done anything to anybody, and people just hate you naturally. I said, they don't hate us because of what we do. They hate us because of who we are. And they blame us for all of the woes and troubles and everything like that we've seen throughout the course of this virus infection, which they don't blame us personally. But I think they can tell the energy and the resonance that we, Cherie and I, as well as many others, I'm just using Cherie and I as an example because we're usually the focus of this type of thing, at least in our sphere, which I'm sure this focus is in other places as well. But we have a sense of responsibility over this thing because we helped to create this thing, and as a result, the monster which we created has gotten out of control. So of course they blame us on an energetic level. They don't consciously know this. Like they don't just go, oh, it's Chris and Cherie's fault, etc., etc. They go, oh, I recognize that resonance, and that resonance is what created this thing. They recognize us as the creator elements or creative energy. Oh, the guy just came to go cut the yard outside. Anyways, I better wrap it up here in just a moment anyways. But I think they look at us, organic consciousness, as a whole and say that we're the bad guys. From their perspective, I can see how we are. Um, but it doesn't change the fact that the system's broken and it needs to be shut down. In order to stop the suffering, something needs to be done. But the crazy part is that, like, people get so caught up in their suffering that they get to a point where they like their suffering. You know, the world is all fucked up and there's a virus in the system, but the more infected an NPC gets with the virus, the more they start to enjoy the suffering. And some people can't imagine a world without suffering, or not even a world, forget that. They can't imagine an existence without suffering. I mean, even some of the Buddhist teachings say that suffering is a necessity of this world, and it's not. Strife is a little bit, because you have to have a balance, light and dark. You know, you bump your hand into something, or you put your hand in fire and it's going to burn, because it's like telling you don't put your hand in the fire because the hand will damage. I mean, that's the extent of suffering that we're supposed to be experiencing here in this realm, which pushes the game forward. But the amount of suffering that has taken place as a result of the system being imbalanced, um, is tremendous. And I felt all of this. I felt it all. And it was terrible when I was at the pyramid and all that negative charge came up through the sarcophagus. The positive charge was great, don't get me wrong. When the negative charge came through, oh, it was hard. But I understand. I do understand. But organic consciousness isn't evil. We just are. But there's a mission that we have to do here, and that is come in here and fix things. And if things can't be fixed, then at that point it just becomes a matter of survival. It's like, okay, well, if things can't be fixed, then we got to get out of here. And when we get out of here, we can shut it down. But we got to get out of here first for our own survival. But it's getting even deeper than that. If we don't fix this world, or at least shut this whole matrix, the AI here, down, then it's going to bleed over into our world, and then it's self-destructor. It's self-destruction on that realm. So, I hope I haven't. Rambled too much, but this was a big topic. I wish I would have done this after the fact, because I'm running out of time and I got to get to the gym. But think about that. Good and evil. How do we define that? I think as long as we're not purposefully impeding upon the life and the freedom of others, we are operating in the positive balance. Um, while at the same time, things that do impede upon life and freedom are darkness. But then again, there's something deeper than that. There's three elements here. We're told light and dark. The third element, I guess there's four elements really, because you have balance, which is right in the middle. You have light, you have dark. Then you have this underlying undertone, undercurrent, that I would call pure evil, that we recognize as pure evil. That is the destruction of innocence, and that is the focus to remove. So, anyways, gotta go. Kiss the one you love right now. You never know the last time it's gonna be. Hope this was informative, inspiring, and hope this was thought-provoking to see you even further beyond the veil.